Doomfist has finally been unveiled. And unsurprisingly his whole moveset is based around punching things in different ways. We should have fucking seen that one coming. My first predictions are that Korean pros are going to quickly work out how to indefinitely juggle the entire enemy team with some crazy combo that the developers couldn't even comprehend, and that bad Doomfist players are going to get roasted just as hard as a bad Hanzo or Widowmaker. As much as he's incredibly fun to play, he seems to highlight a gaping problem in Overwatch that doesn't get talked about enough. That being that there are currently too many DPS heroes for the amount of healers and tanks we have. Let's consider the current roster. Out of the 25 currently playable heroes, 14 of them are solely based on doing damage and getting eliminations, leaving 6 tanks and 5 healers for the rest of the classes. However, if you wanted to go into this deeper, you could argue that oftentimes Reinhardt is a must pick on many situations, and despite Blizzard's best attempts, Orisa has not been able to replace Reinhardt like they had initially intended, making the tank category have only one true dedicated tank and 5 off tanks. We then get into Roadhog, who many consider to be just a high health DPS, for having no way to protect teammates short of body blocking them with his Victoria's Secret physique. Moving on now to the supports. 90% of players don't consider Symmetra as a support hero, as she has absolutely no way of healing their team. In fact, a good Symmetra can often outdamage their DPS teammates. Out of the 4 supports left, we are left with 2 who are able to solo heal on the condition that they are not a proud member of Team Potato, and even if they are genuinely talented, your team will almost always benefit more from having a second healer as opposed to having a third tank or DPS. From here, we can look at a standard composition of 2 DPS, 2 tanks, and 2 healers. As we can see, the problem is that DPS heroes, although taking up a third of a standard team composition, account for nearly 2/3 of hero picks. And although no one can truly ever stop a person from choosing an extra DPS hero and refusing to change, that's a good way to lose an otherwise winnable game. That's not even considering how much it can tilt players and in turn cripple the team more than if Stephen Hawking got hit by a fucking train. But that isn't the only issue with DPS heroes in Overwatch. Every single one of them is almost objectively much more fun to play than any of the tanks or supports. Getting kills are almost always going to be more satisfying than babysitting your Genji because they can't find a fucking health pack. Of course, that's not to say that playing a healer or tank isn't fun. Oftentimes it's very rewarding. However, when you're forced to play only 3 or 4 heroes for an entire season, when there's an entire roster of more satisfying characters to play, it can make a person wish that there were more options for the team player, as opposed to yet another hero that will be played by a much smaller glory-chasing minority. My personal wish is that Blizzard can have a future focus on non-DPS characters being more fun, engaging, and skill-based, or to even simply shift the game in such a way that allows for the ratio of DPS to be more easily represented inside of a team composition. Lastly, making new non-DPS characters look more badass would also be a nice addition. For example, DPS roles get a cyborg ninja, futuristic cowboy, and a fighter pilot, as opposed to an old lady with a dart gun, apparently what will be the standard uniform for a future architect, and an obese man who once found a hook.